For almost 100 years, Hadrian Marlowe has served the Empire in its war against the Cielsen, a vicious alien race bent on humanity's destruction. Rumors of a new king amongst the Cielsen have reached the imperial throne. This one is not like the others. It does not raid border world territories, preferring precise, strategic attacks on the humans' empire. To make matters worse, a cult of personality has formed around Hadrian, spurred on by legends of his having defied death itself. Men call him half-mortal. Hadrian's rise to prominence proves dangerous to himself and his team, as factions within the imperial government distrust or resent his new influence. Caught in the middle, Hadrian must contend with enemies before him and behind. And above it all, there is the mystery of the quiet. Hadrian did defy death. He did return. But the keys to the only place in the universe where Hadrian might find the answers he seeks lie in the hands of the Emperor himself. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Christopher Ruoccio's Demon in White. Demon in White is a 2020 novel by Christopher Ruocchio, and third in the Sun Eater series. I have previous reviews up for books 1 and 2, Empire of Silence and Howling Dark, though the former was my first, so it is quite rough around the edges. But this will contain no spoilers for Demon in White, but it will spoil some stuff from books 1 and 2, so beware. The book starts with Hadrian at 100 years of life, though about 4 centuries have passed since his birth on Delos. For Gossos in the end of book 2, it was quite a while ago. This is not jarring like it was in Howling Dark. It is a seamless transition, and there are more throughout the book, as with space travel, the time jumps are inevitable. Probably don't need to mention it, but like the previous works, it has some of the best prose I've ever read, and it is a great first-person narrative with our main character, Hadrian Marlowe, of course, as the narrator. Hadrian did a lot of maturing in the first 2 books, and here he does even more. But he's definitely an adult now, and someone that is somewhat wise from his life experiences. His legend continues to grow bigger and bigger, and it's quite awesome to read. But his legend may become just a little too big to make him stay small and less of a target from enemies inside and out. Since the end of Howling Dark, Hadrian is now a Knight Victorian and serving the Emperor directly. He has an old ship of the line, the Tamerlane, which holds almost 100,000 personnel. Don't worry, the Pale return as the war with the alien Cielsen continues, as they continue their unceasing advance through human space. And now it seems they may have some aid. This is honestly probably exactly what you expect. If you loved the first 2 books, which seems to be a rather popular opinion and was my opinion, then there's just more of that goodness here. We get more awesome world building, we get more awesome action, we get some great friendships, and we get more character development, not just from Hadrian, but from Valka and from his crew. But we also get some new characters, we get to see more of the Emperor, we get to see more of his family, and I won't really go much into that, but it's some really interesting stuff. We also, of course, get the great philosophy that the book has. We get really takes or thoughts from Hadrian, which made me think at least on the illusion of power and what makes people human, which of course comes up a lot, and what makes people tyrants, and how do we get respect, and how do we control our fear and our anger, and how do we really love. So there's lots of philosophy in either original or slightly modified thoughts or forms. For example, there is a section in chapter 31 that is very similar to a Tolkien quote of Gandalf talking to Frodo in The Fellowship of the Ring. My one complaint is that sometimes the combat lasts too long, which was a problem I had with Howling Dark as well. And it doesn't always last too long, though. I was very pleased with most of the action in this book. I compare it somewhat, or I find myself comparing it somewhat to the Spiral Wars books by Joel Shepard sometimes, which have similar themes but with more action, and the action there is always exhilarating. So that might just be a problem for me. Regardless, this book is really, really good, from page 1 to the last. Sadly, that's not the case with most books, so that makes this exceptional, and even more so since each book has been that way, for me at least. But de gustibus non disputandum est, obviously. Truly, I've had the thought over the last few days that this is sort of similar to the Stormlight Archive for me, which I don't really mention a lot on this channel since I read it several years ago, and I've had more of a recent focus on classical fantasy, or older stuff at least. And these books are just great from page 1 to 2, and I love them. And the series is looking like it'll continue to be that way. So if you enjoy science fantasy, if you enjoy Dune, as far as sci-fi goes, or Lee Brackett's, or even Edgar Rice Burroughs' Sword and Planet stuff, and of course if you enjoy fantasy, if you feel like sci-fi is not really your thing, this is really fantasy. It is I don't know how to say this, Ruocchian science fantasy. That's just what it is. So, thanks for watching. It's been Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.
Before I forget, just one note of awesomeness. This book mentions Beowulf, Turin Turambar, and Sir Gawain, so that's just +1.